Welcome to A Dark Path, a podcast exploring the depths of witchcraft, magic, the occult, and all things mysterious. Join us on this journey into the unknown, down a dark path overgrown. Find spells and rituals, folklore and legends. Come, set your candles alight to clear your mind and unwind. Delve into the shadows to uncover a dark path.
Welcome back to A Dark Path, a podcast exploring the depths of witchcraft, magic, the occult, and all things mysterious. I'm Allyson Hemma-Romane, and my favorite divination method is a pendulum.
I'm Kristen Jackson, and my favorite form of divination, it's kind of hard to say because I usually use tarot, but I'm really interested in rune casting.
Hey, I'm Heidi from Wise Wolfcraft. My favorite form of divination is easily tarot. Today's episode is an introduction to divination methods, followed by a full segment of readings.
Huzzah!
Something different.
Divination.
Dun, dun.
Divination is defined as the art or practice that seeks to foresee or foretell future events or discover hidden knowledge, usually by the interpretation of omens or by the aid of supernatural powers. And that's from Merriam-Webster.
So, methods of divination. You can divine really with anything. All you need is intention and a tool. Visually, there's things like lithomancy, which is stones, astrology or tarot cards. You can do physical acts like dowsing rods. Some call them divining rods, pendulums, things that you can like physically interact with. You can also do logical kind of divination. So this is going to be dream interpretation, birth charting, numerology. There's even verbal and written, so you can do like automatic writing. And then there's also social, which is things like palmistry. There's even, I can never say this, oculomancy, so you can actually look into an eye and like kind of do some divination with that tool. So some forms of divination, just like 5 real quick ones, are cardiomancy, rune casting, tasseomancy, osteomancy, and scrying. Cardiomancy is anything to do with cards, so like a deck of cards, tarot cards, oracle cards, things like that. Rune casting is typically going to be it's a rune that is inscribed onto usually wood, stone, bone, things like that. Tasseomancy is most often tea leaf reading. Osteomancy is going to be more of your bones, your shells, things like that. And then scrying is looking into a surface. So it could be water, it could be a mirror, fire. Yeah, so those are just kind of not an extensive list of everything in the world, of course, but just a few that are common. What do we personally use for our own divination purposes?
So, as I said before, when I'm doing divination, my total go-to is tarot. I love tarot. I start with tarot almost always. Outside of my intuition, right? Like that almost feels like a cheat answer, but you know what I'm saying. Like outside of going like, what do I think? Tarot, and then I like using pendulum as kind of like a partner with tarot and with energy reading. So I'll like do my read either through the cards or just through someone's energy. And then at the end, I'll ask my pendulum, did I get it? Did I get everything I needed? Or sometimes even with like energy reading, I'll ask a question specifically about each chakra. And it's what I like to call it confirmation because I'll have already done a spread. Like it just helps me accumulate more information, right? It's interesting because I put runes on this list, and this is totally something I'm hoping to do. I don't use runes consistently. I like runes. I'm learning about runes. And I have certain circumstances where I've used them particularly because and actually, Allie, we did this. But I'm really interested in like integrating stuff into your hair. And so I have like runes you can put in your hair, and that whole process made sense to me. So I did that. tea leaves is something I do and actually it's interesting because I say I do it very regularly, which is true, but it's also I have different levels of like doing it. So like anytime I drink something with grounds in it, I will like go, oh, and like see what's in the cup. And I often set intentions to what I'm drinking, just like Kristen said. Actually, Kristen, you're one of the people who like inspires me to do that the most. I'm always like, oh, look at me, I'm like Kristen. I really do. I'm like, I'm cool now. So when I do that, I'll tend to look too if there's anything left behind. But then I also have like a process for if I'm going to do it for like a client or if I'm going to do it as like my primary session. I also do wax with like a similar intention. I like to drip wax into water. I do that more often than I do runes. But like I said, I really want to do runes. So maybe this was like my aspirational list at some point. I
You
do
put it
this.
on the list to like hold you
I
accountable.
really want to do this, right? So if you just start, you speak it into being.
I do divination stuff for work like Heidi does. So I'll do tarot. My favorite deck is the Wanderer's deck. I also do pendulum, as I mentioned. It's my favorite thing. Mine is Rainbow Moonstone. It's very aggressive. We love each other. Now, this sounds a little weird, but bear with me. I hear voices. I also super, super, super love to do spirit work. And that can be divining if they have something they want to warn you of or something they want to tell you about that's happening. And I'll use a spirit box. I think it's called Ghost Talker or Ghost Talk on my phone, as well as dowsing rods, which are copper rods, super cliche, like medium stuff, right? They work and ghosties have fun playing with them. I also do deity meditation very, very, very regularly, probably like every other day, every 3 days. And I'll ask them about things or ask them for assistance on things. And sometimes they'll give me insight as to future developments. Automatic writing is another thing that I enjoy. It's basically you kind of like clear your mind, and I have a piece of paper and I'll like doodle in circles or I'll end up doing like spirals, right? Sometimes it makes shapes, and then words will kind of like pop into my head, or I'll write them down. It's a really interesting time.
The divination tools that I typically use are tarot. I also put rune casting. It's always something that I've been really interested, especially with like being of Norwegian descent. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is really cool. And like learning the story behind it of how Odin went and found. He did some trials. It was fun. He lost an eye, but he got the rune. So, who needs an eye? I'm learning the divination aspects rather than the sigil bind rune kind of side of it. So that's fun. I say visions, but it's not like a movie screen. It's kind of like still images, the tail of a dog. I might see a rose, things like that. And then I also will get smells sometime. That's a little interesting sometimes when people are like, "Are you having a stroke?" And I'm like, "No, I think that's toast." I also do elemental scrying. My ways are smoke, fire, and water. Water part kind of scares me. I get into it a little too much, I think, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, the universe, and my brain starts whacking out. So I'm still kind of dipping my toes in that water to say. I also highly, highly recommend meditation as well. Meditation can be so many things. You can just sit with something, you can see if it's true or false, you can ask an ancestor, you can go on a journey down some trail and see where it takes you. There's so much that can happen with it. I don't know. I'm just so, like a giddy little schoolgirl. I'm like, it's so much fun, guys. Do it. It's weird, but it's fun. Just do it.
Is there anything that you do for divination that isn't traditionally thought of as divination? Heidi?
I was gonna say, Allie, why don't you go first?
Okay. So the thing that I do that isn't traditionally thought of as divination, it's like in general, I take a scholarly approach to looking at the future, right? So I like to look at the past in order to learn from it and then move forward, right? Specifically with existence. I think that we all have souls who have been reincarnated. That's my personal belief. And so I like to do past life regressions for funsies, but also to learn about soul contracts or difficulties that I've had that help me move forward and make better plans for myself in this lifetime, if that makes sense. I personally do consider past life regression a form of divination. I'm curious to know what you guys think or if you do anything similar. Yes, Heidi, now you have something to say.
I do. I have, since we spoke last, developed a strong opinion, which is that I think that it definitely is divination because I forget sometimes. And that was what I thought. I thought, oh, you forget this. Divination doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting information from the future. It just means that you're getting information that you didn't have mundanely. You don't acquire the information mundanely. So it can be about anything. I had a 180 in like a minute and a half, and it was that now I have a strong opinion that yes, it is in fact divination.
I want to give an example in case people are having a hard time understanding. I can see Kristen's wheels turning, so I'm kind of curious to hear what she has to say then too. My most recent attempt, I found out about my most recent life in which I was an individual that passed away from tuberculosis in 1932. I was married, I had children, and there were elements that exist in today's life, things that kind of have carryover. So I have asthma, right? So I have pulmonary issues as well as autoimmune issues left over from that experience. I looked at pictures and stuff and immediately became frightened and nauseous. So like I have like a very visceral emotional response to the places from my meditation. So those are kind of ways that you can know what you're doing is legit, right? If you look at photos and don't feel anything, it's probably not. There are a lot of themes of like leaving and loss and grief, um, deep struggle. I had died at the age of 22. So also like super tragic, super heavy life, right? And I'm still like working through some of those themes in this one. So in knowing that, I've been able to better look at what I'm going through now, what I have experienced, and then also kind of tie it into where I'm headed, if that makes sense.
That absolutely makes sense. Wow, I have so much to say. But my brain's like, what do I start with? I definitely do think, yes, that is a form of divination. I think so. It's definitely along the same lines of it's not foretelling the future. It's not giving you like the magic eight ball numbers, whatever lotto numbers, things like that. But there is something to be said about whether it's an ancestor or past life or someone reaching out in some way, some energy reaching out in some way, saying, hey, you're on the right path, or hey, here's some tweaks that you can do, or, things like that. I think a lot of people do get into their mind that it's fortune telling, it's telling your future, and it's not always. Most often, it's talking about what's happening right now and where you can go in the future. And there's many paths. So you still have a choice. You can still do the stupid thing and have the repercussions. You can try something else. You can move around it. There's so many things you can do. Yeah, that's all that I have right now because my brain just petered out.
I just love
I,
that you're like, you can still do the stupid thing. Like, don't worry. That stupid thing is safe if you really want to do it.
if you choose it, the stupid thing is there. For me specifically, I feel like something that people don't think is divination is what people call like your knowing or your gut feeling. That's a very, very strong thing. It's like a thing that's like literally in your gut going, ew, don't do that, or go this way, or do this thing. I don't know. I think that's just the simplest way to like be like to divinate, to like figure out what's going on is to just really listen to yourself and listen to your gut. I mean, we talked about it in our intuition episode a lot about how like for me in my personal life, it saved me from different things like going to a party and finding out that there was a shooting and, being like, gosh, I'm really glad that I left when I did or didn't go or whatever. So that's a very common divination method that's not traditional or, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there's so many people who have that experience, and it's kind of been, I mean, maybe it's just my social media algorithm, but there's like examples of it all over the fucking internet, right? Like people have, they'll hear voices, they'll be asleep and hear a voice and then automatically get up and they're like, who the fuck is that? And a lot of people oftentimes think it's their guardian angel or their higher self or something like that. Um, but it seems like it's something that's outside of you in like those really intense situations. Um, I totally agree that that's a form of divination, even if it's just like for survival, but like it comes in clutch for a lot of people.
Isn't that what like the universe and our ancestors want for us is to survive?
Have you seen the meme and it's like my spirit, my spirits and my spirit council and ancestors rooting me on, blah 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 blah. And it's like a picture of like the earth and there's like a bunch of like angels, right? Like from high above. I usually see the one that's like my spirit council begging me to punch her in the face, or like my spirit council like begging me to fuck the patriarchy, or like, something like that.
I have one that's my spirit council, and it's these two nuns smoking cigarettes, and it makes me really happy.
Why don't I like so accurate for you though?
It is. It's really good. I was like, what's
One's
up,
a
bitches?
Leo, one's a Scorpio. They're just like hanging out, smoking cigarettes and weed. Little
Yeah,
men.
it's so on the nose. Fucking nuns and cigarettes. I mean,
I don't think you're
I was trying
supposed
to
to
think.
fuck the nuns.
You're not supposed to. It's very true. They're brides of Christ. It's quite rude. Um,
Rites of Christ. It's great root.
I think some people would think it's a little controversial to say that you can divine from energy reading, just because I think some people, for one thing, don't want to admit that you can just pick up information from people like trying. um, so I think that makes people uncomfortable. And then two, like we were talking about earlier, just that confusion around like what divining really means. Like, and they're like, well, how can you tell my future just by looking at me? And I'm like, that's not what I think I can tell just by looking at you. That's and it's something I do all the time. And that's again, it's exactly what you guys are talking about. People do that all the time in their day to day as well. How much you get is based on how much you practice, right? And like maybe your environment a bit too, the other person's safeguards. But yeah.
People most often are like, oh, I'm not a diviner. I can't tell the future. But what it is just getting information that's outside of yourself. That's what divination is.
When I started my business, I've been around saying that, like, oh, I'm not a diviner. Because a lot of people use that definition. I do still say that, like, I can't tell you the future. Because people will say, well, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen when you're doing tarot readings and stuff? And the answer is, I don't know. Heidi might, but I don't know.
If I'm really concerned about a timeline, I'll do something like cup readings. If it's something specific I'm looking for within that year, it's only so helpful.
Does divination set your fate, and how accurate is it? My answer is no. Divination does not set your fate. And oftentimes I feel like it's incredibly inaccurate because you're looking at slices of possibilities. Is that the butterfly effect? Like every choice that you make has a ripple through your time. It's
Yeah.
like as simple as you overslept today, right? When you were supposed to get up at a certain time and get ready and go do the thing, but instead you overslept. So now your possibilities in your future are different because you left your house late. So you're not sitting in your car at a specific time or doing a specific thing at a specific time. Does that make sense? Um,
Totally.
so it's not accurate. I feel like it's not accurate at all because oftentimes things change.
I think I have found that I think tarot, I always say, it's so funny. I'm like, instead of divination, I'm like, I think tarot, but that's because that's the one I have the most comfortable relationship with, is super accurate. I think that the thing that happens is that, and this is a language change. This is something I like to do, because language change is empowering to me. I feel like if you don't get a hit, like if you think something's going to happen and it does not happen, which is what we consider inaccuracy in a lot of frames, is there's so many things going on. You have to reflect on why you're coming to inaccuracies. There's a lot of different reasons and a lot of different things you can do to work through that, because I think that a lot of times if you're finding that your divining is inaccurate, it can be energetic also. It can be that you're too caught up in your ego. It can be a lot of mundane things that you can actually address. Now, does that mean you're always going to be accurate afterwards? No, but I have found that if you're working on yourself, which most people, which I could be wrong, but I feel like most people who are reading tarot are fairly interested in working on themselves. That's what got most of the people I know there anyway. But if you're doing the work, you do get more accurate. The reason I'm so drawn to divination is the accuracy. Taking that journal that I talk about non fucking stop, That journal really helps you though, because you get to see it. Same opinion, just, I'm the cup half full girl. So shine that turd. You got 50%, shine that turd.
No, I don't sit with the turd. That's I'm the pessimist. Now I want to hear what Kristen has to say.
Does divination set your fate? No, I don't think so. I think that your fate is set by yourself. I feel like that's something that you may have done what's that called? Like a trail map of what your life should be or what you want to learn. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's how it's going to happen. Whether it's us sitting down in the morning and being like, I want A, B, C, and D to happen today. Sometimes there's a car accident, so you're not going to get to work on time, which means that you're not going to be able to go to the grocery store on time, which means things happen. Like life happens. And then also, I'm going to use tarot cards for an example. So if somebody's trying to divine using tarot cards and there's, hey, there's this, and this going on, maybe deep down, this is what's going on. You need to work on that. If it's something that involves anyone else, a relationship or friendship, a business, anything, their free will comes into it too. Let's say whatever you're trying to divine, the other people around you can also change and make things different because they're going on their own path too. So if something happens and another person has to make this detour, that could also affect your timeline as well. Is that to me saying that just because somebody else has something going on that it's going to absolutely affect what's going on with you? No, but there is a huge possibility just because we are social creatures and things do happen and change. Sometimes we have to go help a friend instead of going to the grocery store. There's different things that can change. How accurate is it? I think that comes down to the person who's being read for. So if I'm being read for, if I'm like completely, let's say I'm in denial of my shadow self, then no, it's not going to be accurate for me. It can be as accurate as you can allow it. Do I also think that you should follow 100% and do step one, step two, step three, just like the cards or just like the runes or just like the fire scrying is saying? Not necessarily, because that might not be the right way to do it for you. So, how accurate is it? I think that it's a lot more accurate than maybe even myself wants to think sometimes because I'm constantly questioning myself. I think that there's also the opportunity to double check yourself as well with using a pendulum, using meditation, using a different tool to help kind of clarify.
Can I jump in and say something real fast? This has made me think. I talk about using tarot a lot. I very rarely use the traditional meanings of tarot cards. Sometimes that comes up. I tend to do it all intuitively and use the card as my starting point. I love having um a messenger to sacrifice. Be like, oh, it's the cards. The thing, not the Heidi, the cards. I think divination is really accurate, or else I wouldn't do it. I'm a highly scientific minded person. Repeatedly doing a process that wasn't working for me is not what I would do. I have fucking ADHD or some shit also. So just for the record, if something doesn't work for me, I am not going to do it more than one or two times. That's not how it's gonna work. So it's just like, just want to throw that out there. So as much as even if I'm 51% right, I'm talking in the spectrum of outside of what I already know. If I can take in 51% more information than I already know, if I can, and that's reading for yourself. Reading for yourself is the hardest thing. I mean, maybe it's different for everybody, but I'm the person that I can fool the easiest. And so if I'm not accurate for myself, that helps my life big time. I'm way more accurate for other people. And I think you could attest to that probably, Allie, like that you are accurate for other people too, but it's hard to read for yourself, I feel
Oh
like.
yeah.
Right? Or like
Which
you'll get
is
so far, but then need someone to help. Like you're like, I keep getting this, and what the fuck is this? And then somebody else is like, oh, blah blah blah, and you're like, fuck. Like, I don't know.
yeah.
That's a lot of fucks in one sentence.
Another drinking game. I read for myself all the time, but I do also go to people that I trust and am interested in their take on the situation. I wanted to touch on accuracy, like reading for people. I tend to do the same thing I do with past life regressions for myself, is I'm looking into the present and the past in order to give options for how to move forward. So I don't when I read tarot for people for work, I don't say, oh, in September, this is going to happen to you. Now that has happened, I think 3 times in readings, right? Where I've been like, that is not a thing that I do. And then very adamantly, I've heard voices being like, this bitch needs to saddle up for September 2025, right? But like, typically that doesn't happen. I don't like go, oh, you're going to get married, like things like that. Accuracy for me is pretty high because I'm looking to the past. The only time that it's not accurate is when someone is super closed off energetically, dishonest with themselves and not willing to do self-growth work, and or unwilling to look at how they contribute to their own situation, if that makes sense. Um,
It's a really valid point.
yeah, and it's been really difficult for me to settle with. Actually, Heidi has been a huge influence in that mindset shift. Where because I used to blame myself, right? Oh, it's because I'm not good enough. It's because I'm not in touch enough. It's because I'm not good at being a channel, right? But the reality is that I'm doing the work as hard as I can. Like I'm leaving with headaches or like nausea. You like I'm trying my damnedest to get answers for people. And if they're unwilling to connect, it's just not going to happen. Um, so that being
Or
said,
unwilling to admit, like you said too.
you're
Sometimes
right,
people are going to be like, well, that doesn't resonate for me at all. And then walk off and
right,
you're like, well, why are you so pissed then?
exactly.
Right.
So on that note, then, we've talked about like I'm a huge advocate for being read by other people. I do it myself pretty regularly. Like I'll have Kristen read for me, like, you know, hot and ready. Dave's hot and ready, hot and juicy, whatever that is at Wendy's. So how do you choose a reliable diviner to like read or be a channel for you? Let's start. Should I start? The way that
Yes,
I do
please.
it,
I'm taking pictures of my cat. I'm sorry.
the way that I choose a reliable diviner is vibes. Intuitively, I look at the person and I go, they're it. Then I go for it. Sometimes a conversation is necessary, and that's most often how people what's it called? Like feel me out, right? At shows is they'll want to have a conversation, right? To kind of have some sort of a connection. And if we connect, then they'll get a reading with me. But you definitely want to feel some sort of a pull to the person that's doing divination for you, and you want to feel safe. It should feel good and you should feel kind of drawn to them. Can't wait to hear y'all's opinions.
I would say yes to everything you said, for sure, Allie. Also, um, I would say a very minimum expectation is you need to feel like you can at least be comfortable in their presence, right? Because if you can't be comfortable, you can't do it. Like you have to be open. And if you can't, like if you're just like so uncomfortable, like, right? And then also reserve the right to change your mind. If you get into an experience with somebody and you're like, I'm not enjoying this. This sucks. Fucking walk away. Like it's not, that's what I'm like, walk away. Or like choose someone else because that sometimes too, you'll find out afterwards, you'll think, wow, I walked away from that feeling bad. And that's not how you should feel, in my opinion, walking away from a session. I think it's unethical. I think you can receive bad news. You can receive a bad read and not walk away from it feeling fucked. There is a way to help people feel like they have choices and options and see how things should, it doesn't, I feel like, and again, that speaks to me and you'll know what sucks and what doesn't suck. But I feel like if you walk away from it and you don't feel like you have a path forward or you don't feel lighter or better, you might not have met your match.
It makes me think of like doctors with their bedside manner. Like some doctors are really good at explaining the procedure and getting you to feel comfortable and helping you with the outcome. And some are just kind of like they don't know how to human, I guess. How do I choose a reliable diviner? I have to be able to connect with someone energetically. My energy is really, really important. If I am going to connect with somebody else, I want to make sure that it's not going to be like a energy suck. I want to make sure that it's going to be something that's in my own personal best interest as well. I've talked about it a few times on the show. I almost always have like a cloak on. All my energy, everything's inside, everyone else's stays outside. And that's kind of my block, especially when I'm in like really crowded places. So like conventions and different things where there'll be like tarot readers or at parties or where there's a lot of people or even multiple different readers, then I will go ahead and kind of almost put out like a little tendril of energy towards that person to kind of feel like, is this a good match? Feel like I need to turn my body and walk away. That's obviously not a person that I want to go sit down with for a reading with. I also look for who do I think that I can get the best conversation out of? And that's not just like, hey, buddy, nice to get to know you, but like, who am I going to be able to get the most information from in the best way for the situation that I need? Sometimes I'll even kind of stand, if it's in a place where it's like multiple people and like, I'll stand and listen and kind of hear what the person has to say and somebody else's. And not that like I'm listening to what their reading is, but I'm more listening to how this person delivers the message. Because you can get something like the Death and Tower card and the Devil and be like, oh, sorry, you're dead tomorrow. Sucks for you, like buddy. But that's not the person that I want. I want the person that's going to be like, ooh, you got a hard road ahead, but what can we do? How can we get, through it? What's some different tools? What's our options? And it's also hard because like most of my friends are also very witchy woo. So I'm like, hey, can you do this for me? Or I've been having this reading and I just can't figure it out, or something like that. So I have that benefit, thankfully.
I want to start the next question because we're talking about if we think it's ethical. Is it okay if we move to there? Did everybody get to talk about that?
Yeah, let's
Yes.
combine the last two together. Is it ethical? And then what safety suggestions do we have or something like that?
Okay, so here's my thoughts is I think that it definitely can be unethical. It depends on the types of things people are saying to you. I think it's very not cool to tell people what they should do. I don't think that is a tarot person's job. I think our job is to tell them what could happen and what you could do. I also think it is irresponsible to give um, health, mental health related advice outside of I am not a mental health professional. And if you need mental health advice, you should seek a mental health professional. Um, so outside of those things, I think it's perfectly ethical. I think you just need to understand the situation you're entering. You are not going to have your fortune read. This person is not infallible. Um, there are things like that that should be discussed, right? I think it's important that you understand before you have your tarot read that like intense stuff can come up, even if it's not what you're there to talk about. We're talking about bedside manner. What makes it feel ethical might be a little different to everybody, but I do think it is ethical. It is an ethical practice in general. It's just about how you personally approach it. I would also say for safety practices, um, get to know somebody before you have them read for you. I like to open and close any sort of divination session, so I don't have like an open phone, let's say, so you don't just like be like, oh, someone help, and then leave your phone hanging forever, and then anybody's listening or it's a good idea to start and stop. It'll also make your readings more accurate because you can train your mind a little bit better that way. For like you can literally Pavlov dog your brain, right? Safety wise, outside of that, energetic, just good energy practices. Clean your cards regularly so you're not reading for the wrong person on accident. Clean yourself regularly. If something you're reading makes you feel uncomfortable, fucking end your session, cleanse your cards, and move on. All the stuff that's true with any professional in any environment. If your hairstylist can make you feel uncomfortable, your tarot card reader could. So use your common sense with safety also. Like if your tarot card reader's like, let's meet in my car in the dark at night, like maybe don't go. Like, just use your judgment. Like I don't know, like if you're, I don't feel fair. So those are my pieces of advice.
Like movie drug deals and stuff, like, I'm jumping the car. Let's drug deal some tarot here, blah blah blah. Is divination ethical? I think it depends on who you go to. I think that there are people that are a little snake oil salesman-y, that maybe those aren't the right people to go to. I think that telling someone bad news from the card without, no, you're not a therapist. but at the same time, you have to take into account their feelings and how they're going to have it's their life. They're going to have to interact with this. They're going to have to deal with this. Whatever reading, whatever, whether it's tarot or scrying or whatever, whoever is the reading is for has to deal with whatever is shown. I mean, they don't have to. Honestly, you can live the way that you want. If you're like, hey, should I leave my abusive husband? And the cards are like, yeah, probably best for you. And you don't want to, that's your choice. Do I agree with it? Maybe not. I think that you deserve better. But I almost myself would feel unethical not giving the information to somebody. If it's calling to me that much, I would feel unethical myself not saying something.
It sounds like consent is a big thing for you. Like what, and for should be for everybody, but I mean, is that's the word we're looking for, right? Is like getting consent before
Yeah.
you share.
Like a lot of people, I don't remember what the lady's name is because I am so bad at remembering. I don't love nor hate her. I don't know much about her. I've only watched a few episodes, so I just kind of want to give that little caveat. From what I've seen, she'll walk around and be like, "Hey, I'm a medium," and da 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 da, and then people would either be like, "Oh, okay, cool, lay it on me," or no, and just walk away. So yeah, consent's super important to me. Some people don't want to hear about their great great grandma that is trying to help them get rid of this anger that they've been holding on for generations. So if they don't want to hear it, that's not on you as a reader. That being said, safety practices, I would shield myself in a way that's open enough. So I would still shield myself energetically while also being open to the reading and to the message. Can that be difficult? Heck yes. Also, if somebody has a really big negative energy about them, just being able to say no. Like, I don't think that I'm the best for you, or, you know, just say no. No is a full sentence. If there's ever a time when you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel safe, whether it's being a reader or being read to, I agree with Heidi. Walk away, leave. You don't even have to say anything. Just go.
Is divination on yourself ethical? Yes. I think that that is something that everybody has access to and everyone has the potential to do that. If you're struggling, I do think that reaching out to somebody that you consider like a mentor or a guru or asking a lot of people actually might also be helpful, like comparing notes. When I get stuck IDing deities, I'll ask Kristen and Heidi, for example, as well as members of my own spirit council and kind of like gauge answers that way. Safety and best practices when you're doing divination work for yourself. Withdraw or stop what you're doing as soon as it feels uncomfortable, right? So if you're doing a meditation and you start to get overwhelmed, open your eyes, come back. Doing tarot readings and things are starting to get frustrating or scary, stop, take a breather, take a minute, and maybe ask somebody else to do it for you. There could be a message that's really big and really weighty. You're not the messenger that's required. So sometimes those big messages have to come from somewhere else. Or if you're hitting walls, even, those messages have to come from somewhere else and not necessarily you interacting with your pendulum. Okay. But I think the same thing really applies when you're doing divination work on yourself is consent. And if the vibes are off, leave. You have the power to walk away from your tarot deck at home. You can just leave it where it is. And if your vibes aren't great, have a drink of water, right? Like do a body scan and see what you're needing, take care of your mundane needs, and then try again if you're feeling the need to. So just kind of consider the same things you would consider with a professional when you're doing divination stuff at home with yourself. Yes, Kristen.
So I just wanted to kind of like put a little thing in. I was trying to do a meditation. I'm like, I'm just not getting there. I'm not doing it. I'm not like, and then finally I'm like, okay, body scan. What do oh, I have to pee. I have the fullest bladder and I did not realize it. I have to pee. So I went pee. Guess what? I was able to meditate. So
Amazing.
check in, check in, check your body.
Can I give a final thought before we kind of close up this section?
Yeah.
Um, I just had one other thing about I think it's important to remember too, if you meet somebody and have a bad experience, that doesn't have anything to do with you. it can be really hard, I think, sometimes to feel like you didn't connect with someone or to have someone deliver something that hurts you. There can be like weirdly, there can be like guilt and shame like associated like with you. It's like a victim thing, right? And you just have to remember that when you have a bad experience like that, that's not yours to own. That's someone else's deal, and you can move away from that and go find someone who will and have a good experience. So I don't know, just food for thought.
Get like another, I mean, with doctors, we get second opinions all the time. Get a second opinion.
Always get a second opinion. I think that's a great idea. And I mean, it doesn't have to be the same day, but like do the
Or it
same
could be.
read. It could be. I mean,
You're at a
look,
fair, fucking move a booth over.
I'll do the same read on myself. I'll ask the same question several times because I'm skeptical and I want to know the answer doesn't change. When you're getting a read, like if you're at an event, let's say Heidi and I are next door to each other, right? Do a reading with one and then you go, whoa, that's incredible. My life has changed. You want to double check your information. And you don't
You can
necessarily have to do it
channel.
that day, but if you're feeling the energy, like go for it. And you'll find if it's meant for you that those readings are going to be similar. It's a super interesting thing that happens uh, when you have good connections with diviners.
You'll have a similar read, and yeah, sometimes you might have the same cards come up, but it's more likely that you'll just talk about the same themes. You'll more likely just discuss the same types of things regardless of which cards come up. And cards come up is the tarot expression, right? But that's, I mean, any form of divination.
We've been traveling together down a dark path. Now it's time to take a break and listen to some of our sponsors. This episode of A Dark Path is sponsored by
Needing guidance on your dark path? Explore the mysterious world of Jupiter's Omens, offering handmade rituals, spells, and tools to focus your intention during spell work, vintage altar tools and decor, and intuitive tarot sessions utilizing claircognizance. Visit Jupiter's Omens, where the mystical and macabre meet, at jupitersomens.square.site. That's jupitersomens.square.site. Light the way on your dark path with Wise Wolf Craft's unique selection of tools for living with intention. From manifestation kits to altar items and divination tools, we have everything you need to connect with your inner wisdom. Wise Wolf Craft offers Reiki and other energy healing sessions, divination readings, and a variety of classes on topics like intuitive tarot and personalized spell work. Unleash the power within. Visit Wise Wolf Craft today online at wisewolfcraft.com and on Facebook and Instagram as @WiseWolfCraft. Wise Wolfcraft, tools for living with intention.
Not to brag or anything. I've got my psychic charm from
Get
this
it,
little
Boo
place
Boo?
called Jupiter's Omen.
Look at you.
I'm gonna use it.
You know, I should do that. Be right back.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of scribbling while we were doing the episode. I did a little bit of automatic writing while Heidi and Kristen were talking, just so that I had kind of a jumping off point because sometimes it can take a while. Kristen,
Yeah.
I think I saw Freya. I'm not like entirely sure, but I saw like it looked like a cape in like with like wings, if that makes sense. And then it like kind of cut and then I saw a black cat and then I just kind of heard like as a whisper, she was like, "Join me, I see you." And I was like, "Oh, interesting." So I don't remember what you were talking about at the time. I think it was like ethics of divination. So that's fun. So then I have a
Well,
few
that I'm a
images
root.
that came up and I'm kind of curious if they mean anything to you. So the very first one was like it was like a piece of glass or like a piece of crystal because it kind of shimmered like it had rainbow and stuff. And then it became like a goblet or a chalice. So I don't know if that image specifically means anything to you. Um, Immediately tied after it, I had like the beginnings of a name and it starts with an M. And it's like a ma or mo sound at the beginning. So I don't know if that's helpful at all or if that resonates. And then I've also got blueberry pancakes, and a snail shell specifically. So those were images that kind of popped up. Did any of them Do any of them kind of resonate with times in your life, or are those things that are associated with a person from your life who might not be around anymore, or things like that?
Um, the first thing I thought of with the glass or the chalice was my grandma
Grandma?
had these,
Yeah.
yeah, had these really cool like glass goblets, and we would drink like apple juice or milk or like,
Did you
good things
toast
when
like
we
it
were
was
kids.
wine? Like,
Yes.
because I saw that okay. So I saw wine, but I wasn't sure. And I was like, I think this is just me and my mundane brain. So that's kind of interesting.
And grape
Does
juice.
anything else resonate with your grandma? Like the blueberry pancakes or snails and snail shells?
Snail shell. We were in North Carolina. My grandpa was born and raised in North Carolina, and my grandma like lived there for like a year. But we were there, and I had picked up a snail shell while we were there, and I've had it ever since. It's actually sitting right over there.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's super
The M,
cool.
I'm not entirely certain. The M's in my life are Monroe and Miller. So with the reading that I sent you guys the other day, kind of going over some of the things, the thing that popped into my head was Mofdet. Mofdet, I think is how you say it. She's the cheetah goddess of justice, protection,
Fertility.
and I don't know exactly how to say it. The person that takes you from this realm to like when you're dead. The
Like a
Reaper,
guide.
the the guide to the underworld. Like I think she does. I'm still learning about her.
Does she have a
Um,
hood, like a black hood?
I'd have to check on that. I know that she's a cheetah-headed goddess.
Because I'm getting
I for
another like,
sure thought you meant, does she hang out in like one specific area? Does she have a hood?
does she have a
Have a
hood?
hood.
And I was like,
She
yeah,
grew up in the Stan
where
hood.
does she chill? I get you now. You mean one that goes on your head.
I do. So that's kind of the image that I got from that, but it could also be a bird, right? Like, oh, this is backwards, like sitting.
Oh yeah, because it's
Yeah.
so it's just interesting because when you were talking at the beginning, I felt a lot of energy in my root chakra. And then as soon as you switched, let's see, I think it was about the shell portion, and then it was my heart chakra.
Oh,
So I thought that was
interesting.
very interesting. Because like when you were talking about Freya and you were talking about like, oh, I don't remember the exact words you used, but something about like,
She says, "Join me, I see you,"
yeah.
which
And
is kind
that
of creepy, but also I feel like from her, it's like it felt very like, I'm holding you, I love you, like kind of a thing.
that super resonates with me because of the fact that her and I have been doing a lot. We've been doing a lot of baths together, and I'm pretty positive that she's the one that put that song into my head. Let me be your mirror so you can see a bit clearer the light that shines within.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
I see you.
And I'm pretty sure it was her because I had invited her. I had started the bath and like got into my little meditation and got everything all started. And then, I was like meditating on more self-confidence and trying to like, and that song kept coming up. And then I'm like, is this Freya? And I don't know if she's just like, you know who it is or what, but she just nope, kept playing the song over and over and over again. Like, thanks.
So I feel like there's like mixed messages from your grandma and from Freya. But like, does the elephant have anything to do with your grandma? Probably not. I don't think so. Power, wisdom, luck, fertility.
Can I throw out that elephants are a matriarch society?
Oh,
That's true. I did not remember that.
I mean, if I had to guess, like the general theme of this is like, because I've got images from childhood, right? Or like childhood memories, images that trigger childhood memories. And then Freya, and then the symbolism of the elephant. So it's like very like female power, right? Like turn inward, uh, power, wisdom. So it's like turn inward knowing, Um, and then like luck and fertility, right? So it's like be joyous and playful and have fun, kind of like, especially with the focus on childhood memories. Heidi, for you, I had, okay, I'll read off what I got here and we'll see if anything resonates with you or
Yep.
if you notice the trajectory. So when you first started talking, I saw very clearly like a daisy and then the calendar, there was like a calendar behind it. So it was like a daisy and like a bud vase and then a calendar behind it that was like June or July.
Okay.
And then from there, I started seeing images of like mountains and water and waterfalls. And in knowing some about your life, I don't know if that's a reference to where you and your family camp or if that's a reference to something else that's coming up, or imagery based off of like steadfastness, rapid change, right? Then I got an arrow, and the arrow, I didn't see the tip of it. I saw the feather. So like the feather end of it. It was super long white feathers, like very crisp white feathers.
Interesting.
So we've got like color associations with white. Um, and then also it's super interesting that it's a long, like long white feather. Then I had names pop up, male names. So I've got Ron, Rob, Rick, and Richard. And they just kind of like strung along like that. Then I started seeing imagery of like an oil lamp with like a lotus flower like laying beside it.
Okay, so I want to tell you a couple things so that you can see what you think. I think some of the imagery has to do with the fact that I want to start the master's course in June or July.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's part of what we're seeing is that I have that timeline in my head. The daisy kind of speaks to that for growth. I would also argue maybe the lotus. There's something
Yeah.
you said right on the other side of the timeline that I felt like, oh, that's because of it being Reiki also, which I can't
Water,
remember.
waterfall, mountains.
Yes, and it being a journey,
Yeah.
right? And us doing this journey together.
Yeah.
The thing I thought was interesting is the arrow. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. So I don't know if it's pointing me in an unknown direction, or meaning I'm going in a new direction. And then the hit I immediately got off the feathers is that it wasn't from a bird. They were like, and this is weird sounding. So like, you know how when you start to say woohoo stuff, but I was like, could it come from like an angel's wing?
I was thinking the same thing, if I'm
Okay.
honest, and I didn't know if that was my intuition or if that was myself.
Yeah, well, that was the hit I got, and I feel kind of similarly because I definitely wanted to know what they were, so I looked for an answer, and sometimes it's confusing when you look for an answer, right? So that's all interesting to me. If we were to interpret it that way, it feels like divine protection, sort of, right? Through this unknown portion of the journey. The lotus and the light hit for me too, though, because that's like I feel like a big part of, again, like the Reiki journey. I feel like a lot of it is around that, but I'm not entirely like, I'd love to know more if you have any further insight.
So the feather that I saw was an egret feather, so I'm going to look that up really quick. Harmony, balance, purity, and divine power represent diplomacy, patience, and staying true to one's beliefs. And they actually are relevant in Egyptian, Celtic, and indigenous traditions. They are everywhere, right? Like they're waterfowl, so they're kind of everywhere.
The daisy, for some reason, I immediately thought of it meant, oh, time passing, which is weird. But that was
Oh,
immediately what I thought. We were just talking about that game, how it's like how you pull a pedal for
yeah.
like yes or no. But in my head, the exact same that came to my mind was pulling the pedals and counting months. And it was interesting because I don't know if the message to me was that it was arbitrary or if that I should have paid attention to how much petals there were, or if it was, do you know what I mean? So it's like it kind of also leaves me wondering if there's not some piece of information I don't see quite yet that's going to affect my timeline somehow.
After a quick Google search in Victorian times, they represented innocence, loyalty, and the ability to keep secrets. But then white daisies are often used in weddings and as congratulations bouquets, right? Purity,
I know.
innocence.
I also was like, girl, if I get pregnant, it's going to be your fault, and that's going to be weird.
The Daisy's
physiologically
cycle
speaking.
opening and closing, or closing at night and reopening in the morning,
I
symbolizing
know, and it's like a
rebirth and a
stork
new day.
feather.
Oh,
And like a bunch of boy names came up, but I'm definitely not going for a Ron or a Rob or
yeah. Well, that's an interesting take on that.
no,
A
but
stork feather?
it's interesting because the names I wish I could lend a little more significance to. The only one I could think of is that so Zach's grandfather is Ron. That's interesting. I'll have to reflect on that a bit because that was good. That was all really interesting.
Definitely not a stork, Heidi. Definitely an egret, because stork feathers have like black tips.
I don't
Uh,
think babies come from the stork anyway.
maybe they
That's,
come from
that's
egrets.
the whole thing. Like, fuck that. That's
Herons. I don't know, but I do also feel like potentially, since we both thought angel feathers. Uh,
yes.
I do wonder. And then like what's the symbolism? What could the symbolism of an arrow with an angel feather be, right? Like divine
No.
purpose or like true to staying true to course, maybe.
Well, so, and you know what else is interesting though, just because we've all been talking about shit lately. Um, is Hermes the one that's like effectively looks like Cupid
Oh, let's see.
with the wings and he's got a bow and arrow? Or is that Nike?
He have wings on his feet, like on his shoes.
Nike
I
does,
remember
right?
like the Hercules Disney movie, and he's like a little dude and he's like flitting around, but he's got wings, but I can't remember if they were on his back or on his feet.
Nikes are on his feet, I'm pretty sure. Is that Hermes?
Yeah.
So he has wings also, but they're on his head. Okay. Um, I was like, okay.
I
So
think
I
you
was
got him
just
backwards, Heidi. Let me pull up this
Nike has a
statue of
mustache.
Nike. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what, victory.
Oh, and I think Eros is the one I'm actually thinking of.
Ooh.
He's depicted as a handsome young man with wings
I mean,
sometimes. A mischievous nude man.
I mean,
Let's go with him.
isn't that who we all strive to
Sounds
be?
fun.
Here.
Yeah.
I mean, here's Eros.
The origin of the word erotic. I'm
Yeah.
down. Let's clown. That's a man, right?
Yeah. He's got a little penis there.
I mean, like a grown man. That's all.
Do you want one with him older? No,
Yeah, I do. I want him to have facial hair. I don't know if they've got arrows with facial hair, but that's what I want.
I don't think they do.
So Eros is the Greek version and Cupid is the Roman counterpart.
Okay, interesting, guys. That was interesting. That was fun. I enjoyed that very much. So I basically decided, I was like, oh, since you guys went down that path, I want to know, I want to do like a spread about speaking with entities. So basically, I just decided, I was like, okay, I want to have a message for Kristen. Who wants to talk to Kristen? And then what's the topic? What's the action? And then what's the outcome? So I was just like, ooh, this is so interesting because so the card I pulled for your god was the tower. And so
Whoa!
this was interesting to me because the main takeaway I had from this was this first just means this isn't going to be somebody you've spoke with before. This is somebody new, right? Like we're like, okay, shaking up our game. When you look at and what I was just looking up because I didn't get an immediate hit. I might sit with it and try to think about at the end if I have something or if something else has come to me. But I was looking to see if there are any like people traditionally associated with the tower, and it's Ares, the god of war. So it's kind of interesting, right? And then to make it even more interesting, the topic is temperance. And I'm like, what a weird combination. But it's like you have to go to war to find balance. And it's going to involve a little bit of hoarding of resources, okay? Like earthly resources, but it's going to lead to a positive emotional outcome. Now, this is interesting because this person is stubborn. They're being given something emotionally and they don't want to receive it. Okay. but it's going to happen, the offering, and that's important. Another thing that's interesting is the number 4 is on all 3 of the cards from them in the message. It's 14, 4, and 4. 4 of Pentacles and 4 of Cups. That's weird, right? And then it's also interesting because it's like we skipped a step. We have 14 and 16, but 15 didn't appear sequentially. So that's interesting too, just as far as when you're interpreting your overall message. It's like we start with the Tower, with our action, with our fire, with Aries. Okay? That's where we're coming from. That's the entity that we're working with. And that's how it hits like. And then we jump right into Temperance. There's no transition there. And I think that kind of just speaks to how it's gonna feel. Like maybe even though it's gonna feel a little I want to say unexpected, like the Tower is kind of, right? But even more so because you're doing something sequentially, but you just skipped a step, moving backwards. And that's interesting too. So like maybe you need to do something you were doing before, right? Like things were more balanced before at one point. And now it's like using a knowledge you already have. You're going to be able to take the resources you already have. And that's what these are, these physical resources you already have to get yourself into this position. And maybe this is even warning you, but don't be stubborn. Don't refuse the abundance when it comes. Interesting. Yeah, and fours, just fours all over the place too. That feels significant, right?
Ooh. My favorite number is 4. My softball number was 44. My life path number, or whatever that number is, I forget the name of it, is 4. My Enneagram is 4. Yeah. So
So
that's
the fours were
crazy.
just like making sure you knew they knew who they were talking to. Like, this message is for you. How did it hit otherwise? Does it feel like it makes sense?
Yeah.
We could draw another
Yeah.
card sometime, maybe not right this moment, but get more insight about what types of actions in our past we should be examining unless something popped right away.
The idea of the Tower card, a new god, new entity reaching out. Not a big surprise. I've been feeling that a lot. It is a little surprising to me because in the zodiac sign realm, and I'm not saying every Aries, but I have not had the best interaction with most male Aries. That being said, my biological sperm donor father figure guy that was never in the picture was an Aries. So that to me is a little bit of a friction point where I'm like, maybe that's my stubbornness being like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. But then also, like, I'm constantly trying to remember myself that there's two sides to a coin and there's many various colors in the rainbow. That just because one Aries has not been great to me does not mean that it's not a lesson that I need to learn or something that can come good out of another.
Or like integrating some nature of Aries in like a different way so that it doesn't like,
A healthy way instead of
yeah,
an unhealthy way.
right.
Unhealthy? Unhealthy?
Interesting. Yeah, maybe this is an opportunity to work with some male Aries energy that is going to hit positively instead of feeling like resolving some of the like feelings of abandonment and like that sort of thing that arises from absent people.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like that hits, man. I am really curious about the step in between Temperance and the Tower. That's so interesting to me. I
Yeah, it's like 14, 15, 16, but no 15.
and
And you
then
just have all the major
hoarding of
numbers.
earthly resources and doing something in the past that you were doing before.
Ooh,
My
it's the devil.
initial,
Ooh, I love
it's
it.
what?
Integrating.
We jumped right over the devil. It's, what's also interesting though, so like sometimes
Jump the devil?
the
Sorry.
devil can represent undue influence sometimes. And so that kind of reinforces that message of like skipping the bullshit. Do you know what I mean? How it's like look in yourself and listen to your highest self is kind of always what that means, right? Is like cut out the background noise, get rid of the undue influence, and
Yeah.
make the action. It speaks to knowledge you already have. And maybe it's not something you were doing in the past necessarily, but it's something you already know about, something you already know how to do or have done.
Which is one of the things that is so frustrating for me with divination is it's like Hey, do the thing that you've done before. Okay, what's that thing? You know. And then you like, ah, crap. Now I got to do this work. No, not all crap because it is nice to do the work, but ah, crap. Why couldn't you just tell me? You know?
And you could always take it further, sit with a pendulum for a while and start asking questions, you can always divine further. But I did a pretty simple read too. So there's a lot of interpretation you could continue with. But yeah, that's fucking tarot, right? Okay, Allie, I got some weird stuff for you. It's exciting.
You sound thrilled. I love it.
Well, I was also just like, this is right up your alley. I'm sure it's the first time you've heard that, dog.
But yeah,
All right.
definitely. I'm 35. That's the first time I've ever heard that in my life.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. Heidi ho.
Heidi ho.
Uh, Heidi ho. Although,
Later,
on a quick
alligator.
side note before we get excited, I did have a clever friend who would say he'd see me every day at work and he'd say, Heidi. And then when he'd leave, he'd say, Heidi. And that was unique. I didn't have very many people who did that. So they're not all lame jokes. Some of them are awesome.
Alley-oops.
Okay, so Dee
Alliati.
Dee card. Bom bom.
Love
Do
it.
you know who it is?
No.
So traditional association, which I was like, I didn't get a strong hit, so I was like, let's look her up. And then of course I was like, oh, but that's right as fuck. It's Hades. Which I was
Yes.
like, of course
Yes, it is.
Hades would talk to Allie. Just like
Yes,
if I'm
it
like open and like who wants to talk to Allie? Hades. I'm like, okay. And then
is.
it's interesting because the cards are like speaking to you, have a lot of interest and a lot of action and a lot of questions. And that's the topic. So he like wants to talk about how interested you are
I think it's
in,
Aaron for sure.
yeah, right, exactly. So
Pronounce
whatever
Aaron,
your,
whoever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever the, yes, it was,
Yeah.
right?
Super
Um,
hot, by the way.
so super interested in like what, like the topic is, hey, you're so interested. Um, then the next part is interesting also because it's like okay, so then the next card is the Six of Cups, followed by six, the Lovers. This was interesting to me. If I were to read this just as like a general message, it's somebody asking you to enter a negotiation or a contract. They want to work with you, right? We've ended up in the Lovers. This is literally a partnership. And I think what they're suggesting through this is that the topic is you have all these questions, you have a journey you want to go on. But you'll notice like there's all this. So swords are air, right? But there's all this air depicted in the background. It's very turbulent. And so it also implies that you're not getting all the answers you're looking for in spite of all the action, effort, and momentum you're putting into it. This is like a card about generosity, but we're talking emotional generosity. But that's because the nature of most of the stuff you were trying to find out has to do with stuff in your emotional house,
Yeah.
right? So this is like him literally gifting you information. I'm going to gift you that knowledge you want in your emotional house. And it looks very positive, very genuine, lots of purity and innocent symbols, right? Like white flowers all over the place. Um, I'm not good with number meanings a lot of times off the top of our heads. What's a six? Because there's been a point to repeat the six too, because then it's saying that by you accepting this, the six, and then the Lovers. And so I think that it implies that there's a larger project to be done, but this is kind of like their way of showing you that they're good for it, I guess, is a way of thinking of it.
So it's seen as the mother in numbers, love, balance, and nurturing. It's associated with family and connection.
That hits to me again. And that's interesting too, because if we look at this partnership, and this is romantic also, it's so I think it is kind of implying that an element of the solution and the information you're going to get and your guys' connection to your guys' being your connection with the entity is something familial, something community based. So like think of it as like an explanation of why they're willing to do it, but also as like knowledge for you about the nature of your divinity, which is people are always like interested in, right? Because like there are all these timelines, all these DNA things, and it's like this is kind of the implication to me is here is that you are somehow connected to that storyline, that iteration. You're connected somehow specifically. We've talked before about the significance of bears and having people accuse you of having accuse you of having different levels of significance, right? In the bear like deity entity lineage, we'll call it. And I think that kind of plays into this narrative. This is like either you were once a worshiper, we were alive at the same time. I knew you literally sort of connection. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
But I also think there's a bigger project. This is about a long-term commitment. This is this is literally like you're being courted,
Yeah,
right? You're getting flowers.
thank God.
Yeah, and then this long-term commitment. It's interesting, but it's only because of the deck of cards I have. I'm like, I feel like they might not have chosen Adam and Eve as their representation had they known their audience.
Yeah.
However, this was the part I have. So I feel like they don't really get to always pick. But
Right.
interesting about the representation here, right?
Hmm.
Not particularly uncredinos looking with like the leafy hair and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So kind of interesting. I'm just gonna say that name so fast you will never know if I say it right.
So let me tell you about what's recently happened because we haven't chatted, and you know I love to chat about spiritual stuff with you. And I haven't filled Kristen in very much either.
Do
So
tell.
I was looking up working with this. So his name is Aaron, and he is, or if you say it in Welsh, it's probably more like Aaron or something. But the underworld, otherworld deity of the dead. And it was the idea is you incarnate right away because a death is a birth is a death, right? And if you don't incarnate right away or you get stuck or something or other, then you go and stay with the Underworld King until you're ready to move into your next lifetime. So he was like kind of this high male deity combining themes of like Odin and Loki and Cernunnos all together. And then with the Christianization of Wales, he became demonized like Satan. And so people in general say that he's not great to hang out with. He's not healthy company. And so after reading that, I kind of sat with it for a second, but looked at myself and my own journey. And I've kind of always had like this obsession with death, right? Like hanging out in cemeteries. I have tons of like, I have a portfolio of artwork and photography that is centered around symbolism and tombstones and all of that stuff that appear in. So, anyways, it's a thing that I love. So I kind of realized that in and of myself, I have like this divine knowing or understanding or magnetism to like shadow walking, grief, death, melancholy, things like that. So it's not surprising to me that a god of the dead wants to hang around. And I do think that because of those interests now, that's definitely something that I've had in my soul for a long time. But then in my personal life, I've been wondering a lot about Reiki and then moving from a personal practice to doing it more as a profession and then incorporating those ideas now of like bare like shadow walking, right? Like moving from darkness into light, helping transition from a period of grief into a grief grief? What the hell? Transitioning from a period of grief and discovery into one of integration and healing. So to me, that looks kind of like a death doula or a licensed therapist. And I'm not quite sure how I want to move forward. They don't feel they don't feel sticky, like they don't like resonate enough at this moment in time. So it's super interesting that that's the basis of this reading. Is like you have all these questions and all these things that are up in the air, but if you just lean into me, baby girl, we got this together. So then my first question is how the fuck? Because when I try to meet and talk with you, you always take me somewhere else. It's like you don't want to talk to me.
Gotta talk different. Maybe you don't get to meet
Maybe
them.
I
No,
gotta get naked. No,
it's sex. It's totally what it is.
it's gotta be. But
All
yeah,
else fails.
you're right. It's
Okay.
probably talking some other way.
It's irritating when you do one thing and it works forever, and then for some reason it just doesn't work. You're like, thank
Yeah.
you.
So
Like,
like the
that's
other deity, Archeo, I can talk to her whenever, wherever. She's like Kim Possible. I can text her, I can call her, I can close my eyes, she's there. And then this asshat is like, nah,
Have you tried your spirit box talker thingy
I
app?
haven't.
Maybe
good
that's
idea.
not, yeah, since there seems to be some kind of a miscommunication with what you're doing, maybe trying that, or like, have you tried your
Love it.
have you tried the divining rods? Because
No,
that
I
may also
haven't.
help you.
No, I've done tarot readings and it's just like, this is why I think you're special. We have a soul contract, like, and you're so sad. I love it.
I love
That's
me my
what this
sad
reading was.
ghost.
This wasn't that different than that. This was like definitely speaking to like a partnership or a contract of some kind, and was like your vibe check. You passed the vibe check
Yes,
for sure. There's an element of
it
that.
echoes the readings that I've done.
Wow.
Okay, Kristen, are you reading for us?
What I did was while everything was going on for your guys' reading, I was asking for clarification, more information. If there's anything that kind of came up, I wrote it down. In the way of a lot of it was images. I'm gonna start with Allie because I keep getting abs, and
What?
I feel like if it's Hades, if it's Aaron, if it's something like that, it definitely feels like a maybe not death specifically, but something underground, something hidden, something shadow, something. But he keeps saying abs, and it's just like, okay, we know you're hot. Stop.
Core strength.
That makes a lot of sense,
Why
actually.
is all of my stuff always so sexualized? It's like I can't say anything that's not sexualized around you guys.
What's your what, Scorpio moon?
What does
Rising,
that speak more to
Cancer
us
moon.
for you?
Amazing. So I kept getting teacher, student, put in the footwork, and then remove the emotion and learn, and then put the emotion back in when you share. So that's kind of what I kept getting. And then also a mountain slope. It's hard to climb, but it's fun to come down. And that sounds so dirty, and I did not. But like you go up the mountain, it's a hard climb, but then you can just like ski down or inner tube down or toboggan. I don't know. Yeah. So that's what I got there. And then Heidi, I don't know if I am sensing what's going on physically with you because I kept getting nausea and stomach. So that's something kind of interesting. So with you during Allie's reading, I kept getting white lightning, white flame,
Ooh, again with the white.
white, yeah. And then I don't know why, but a Black Panther like tail. So like just the tail, black, thin tail. I don't know what that was. Teacher, 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 teacher. I got that a lot. And then messenger. And then when you were talking about Ron, it was it was like it was hard to breathe, like a lower airway kind of feeling. I don't know what that means necessarily.
Hmm, that's really interesting. Okay, so I have a bunch of thoughts about that. So I don't know how Ron died. I can't remember how Ron died. I Zach's other grandpa died from COVID, and so that's interesting. Just that it happens to be a lung thing. I don't know how Ron died. Um, I also think the black tail is interesting. I am trying to decide if I'm going to really look into jaguar medicine, and so that's kind of interesting.
I don't know much about jaguar medicine,
I
but
mean, it sounds
I'm interested.
badass.
Right?
I, it's really interesting, and it's just like it's healing, and it's like it's based in Ecuador, but I have a homie who um did her training down there and a cousin who's done it now, and my cousin was like actually has done all these crazy things, and like wrote a book and got an award. It's changed her like whole deal. Um I just don't know if it's for me. I feel like there's something to learn. I just feel like it's like being interested in shamanism, but not sure if you want to be a shaman, and then deciding to get involved in shamanism. That would be kind of weird. I feel, I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, as far as like, that's how it's like a lifestyle. That's how serious it is for people. And there's not like these integrated steps like in Reiki where you can be like, oh, well, I'll just do level one or I'll just bail out at level two or like whatever. It's not, it's like you go and live in a different culture and get like this training in a different culture. I'm glad you told me about that black tail because now I'm like, is that the messenger? Or like, is that who the message is coming from? Is the message that I
And
can
then
only
it was,
see the tail again? I know.
yeah, and it
And they're
wasn't like
white.
it was big or small, or I couldn't tell you if it was like a tabby cat or if it was a big
Yeah.
jungle cat. Like it
Yeah.
was just the tail. I didn't even think about it. I should have done one person and then talk and then another person. I just like went through everything.
No, and since mine was last, I just immediately was like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." So now Allie, try to remember yours.
Abs. That's all I remember.
Abs.
I was like,
So
oh
me, that's the
yeah.
abs.
Everything you said, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Ooh, I didn't say this. Death is only the beginning.
One of my favorite movies ever.
Is that a name of a movie?
No, that's what he says in The Mummy. You
I need to
remember
watch
when
that again.
the mummy is going into like the thing and he's like, oh, da, da, and he goes, what did he say? He said, death is only the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hmm. I love that movie.
Detail.
Okay, here's what I got. I like how we made a mummy reference too. Did we make a mummy reference in episode two? And now this is our second to last episode of the season. We made another one. Wow, we're really coming full circle, ladies.
We
Um,
gotta begin and end with the mummy.
so abs, that is a reference to, I feel like who it is, right? So, I have identified the deity with Heidi's help via abs. And then teacher slash student is probably my relationship with the deity, but then also I've been told that that across multiple lifetimes is my relationship with Keith. Sometimes I'm the teacher, sometimes he's the student, sometimes he's the teacher, sometimes I'm the student. So that's an interesting correlation and pattern. Um, Removing emotion and then adding it back in when I share, I feel is commenting on my cycle. Like that's how I kind of get through life, is I like push it or remove it away and then write it out. So that to me is saying, bitch, sit down and write it out again. Because I put it off a lot, writing poetry and writing. I have like a book that I'm writing. Death being a beginning, that's an idea that we've talked about already on this episode. And then climbing up the mountain sucks, but it's fun to slide down slash putting in the work is like when you put in all of this effort, then you get to like sit back and enjoy what you've done. But I never do that. So I just kind of like put in buckets of effort and then never take a pause and go, oh, but look at what I've done. Yeah.
It makes me think of abs. You put in all the work, but you've also got to look at those abs and be like, yeah, you could wash like all the laundry on these bad boys. So just because you put in all the work doesn't mean that you also don't get the opportunity to enjoy or reap the rewards.
I feel like you guys should come with me on a meditation because I feel like y'all are thirstier for this dude than I am.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like he should meet his fan club, honestly.
You'll be like, here's my abs. Mm.
Oh, he knows.
You're so
Oh
bad.
yeah,
The world says you're so
he knows.
bad, but I think you're so good.
And then I almost kind of feel like with what Heidi was saying with the flowers and things like that, I just kept thinking of Persephone.
Mm.
Like, just because I don't know much about her, but she's, the spring, she's bright, she's beautiful, she's flowery, she's the daughter of what, Demeter? Yeah.
He's connected to Hades.
I
And
definitely feel like
yes,
I'm a part of these like death entities, right? Like
hmm
I feel, and like Archio is very similar in a way, although she doesn't actually die, right? But that idea of transition of a long sleep before you wake again, the idea of cycle, right? Uh yeah, I definitely feel like I'm a piece of these.
So, you know how we talk about how like different cultures will have a similar god, right? It'll appear in different iterations throughout cultures.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times is often referred to also as like archetypes, right? And I think that is an interesting thing to examine for ourselves as well. When we connect with a specific archetype of God over and over again, right? Um, I think it can mean that there is a deeper connection there than like, and how do you say it without sounding too woohoo? I'm not sure there's a way, but like maybe then you can consider yourself an iteration of that type of entity,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, that's the most woohoo thing that I think I've ever believed or said out loud is like I do feel like I'm a piece of that archetype.
Think of it this way. If you believe, I mean, it's not that woohoo in my mind. I mean, it feels that way when you first look at it because that's an like outrageous thing to say. But we all already agree on a lot of levels that there are like infinite universes, that there are multiple timelines and dimensions. So then we already, in a way, know that's true because that is the nature of infinite, you know.
Yeah.
Um, that and so I don't feel like it is that hard to believe or hard. It's weird to say because we're not used to saying shit. I don't think that it's because it's actually that strange. I think that in a lot of other houses we've already proved it to be true.
Hmm.
So then it's just
There's also some
accessing that version of Allison.
Right. And the way that I do that apparently is with my spirit box, washboard abs, and entering into a relationship with the god of death.
Dope.
I mean, I feel like you're already in a relationship with the god of death with how much shadow work you do. You're like, hey, what would be fun? Let's do shadow work on my birthday and let's invite the god of death so that he can like help me with his washboard abs.
Agreed.
Dope.
My takeaway
Uh,
100% from this episode, abs. No, but seriously,
My takeaway, divination is a hella helpful tool. You can do it yourself, much like anything else. Sometimes it's good to reach out to somebody who does things professionally, right? Like you can, right? And then double check what am I trying to say? Get a second opinion. Anyone else have thoughts about the episode? No? Okay, great.
I'm like,
Wonderful.
should I go? Should I not go?
My thoughts. Go ahead, Kristen,
What?
please.
We're both like, no, you go ahead. Divination methods, there are many, many different tools, but the tools are there to help enhance your intuition, to help narrow down or point to a little bit more accurate of a interpretation or a little bit more information about the thing. Can anyone do it? Yes. Are some people a little bit, I don't want to say better at doing it, but maybe it comes a little bit more easy, a little more natural. Yes, but that doesn't mean that you can't like work and, you know, find what's best for you. And some people I've even seen have been able to do their own mix of divination so that it's their own special version. And that's something that you can do too.
You know, my takeaway from the show, you don't have to be afraid of divination. You don't have to be afraid. Nothing to be afraid of. Lots of different ways to do it. It's fun. It can be safe if you do it right, and it doesn't seal your fate. So you still have free will. Enjoy.
Our path is coming to a bend, guys. We only have a couple episodes left this season of A Dark Path, and our next one is going to be a Q&A and review episode, which we're super stoked about. We're going to go over our year in review and share some ups and downs and our favorites and things like that. I'm Allison, and you can follow me at Jupiter's Omens on social media.
And I'm Heidi from Wise Wolf Craft, and I love being here. Thank you for having me.
And you can follow Heidi at Wise Wolfcraft on social media.
And I am Kristen, and you can follow A Dark Path on socials at A Dark Pod, A Dark Pod, at A Dark Path Podcast.
A
Mic
dark
drop.
pod sounds like a metal band that's like they have like an orca whale as like their
I
logo.
was gonna say, if we were a whale group, we'd be the Dark Pod.
It made me think of that Benjamin Cumberbatch thing.
Penguins.
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 Penguin.
We are always looking to connect. So if you have any topics you'd like us to discuss, questions, or you want to get to know us, please email us at adarkpathpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for listening and joining today's journey down a dark path.
It is now that our time together must come to an end. Thank you for joining us on this journey, a dark path come to a bend. Find us here bi-monthly on your favorite place to stream, and follow us on social media for news in between. A dark path is there, winding and waiting ever. May you craft peace, knowledge, and alignment, so shall it be, or something better.